Hello.
Hi.
Hey, how you doing?
Oh, fine.
Thank you for speaking to me again. I really appreciate it. Sorry about the recording issues last time.
Yeah. So I think this is better, is it?
Oh, that's much better. Yeah. I guess what might be good to start with again is just sort of have a general overview of Memory of Mankind project. So, where is the Memory of Mankind project at the moment?
Yeah, when I first had the idea of collecting stories and keep them for a remarkable time, a crucial question, of course, was in what way and where to store it. And the way we store it is in analog way on ceramic data carriers, especially developed for this project. And the place is a salt mine in Austria, actually the oldest still active salt mine. There's 7,000 years of history, and there's some also geological reasons why it is in a salt mine or in a salt deposit. It's because of the geological features of this material, which behaves like a thick fluid and fills voids and gaps within a couple of decades, and also closes it by this natural process, which is, by the way, one of the best ways to protect an archive like this, because it is closed by this natural way, so sheltered from the greatest threat of a project with a scope like this from man himself.
And sorry, so where did you say the mine was again?
The mine is in the Alps. It's Hallstatt in Austria. That's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and there is salt mining activities for already 7,000 years. And archaeologists find the traces of our ancestors digging for salt for 7,000 years, and it's more or less it's permanent mining there for 7,000 years, and they sometimes, well, just making fun of the oldest company in the world, just digging salt. And this there's this long recording of artifacts there, where we definitely can go back thousands of years. And I thought this would be a good place to have an archive where we store our history from today for the next thousands of years.
Okay, brilliant. I remember you saying last time we spoke, you said you tried to work out the size of the mountain to the size of the archive and the difference in scale between them.
Yeah, the archive is 5 to 5 meters. So this is a cube, which is not small, but compared to the mountain, it is very tiny, and there's a ratio between the size of the salt deposit and the size of the archive. It's 1 to 10 million, and this is the question of how to find it on purpose, or how big is the threat to being discovered just by incident. And we don't want it to be discovered by incident. We want to be found purposefully. That's why we have this kind of treasure map in the form of a ceramic token everybody gets who participates in this project, which will be scattered all around the globe. And you can imagine this is a whole mountain, a huge salt mine, and a tiny part of the salt mine is this Memory of Mankind archive, which is by itself, it's a huge collection, of course.
Yeah, what form are these kept in? Are it, as I understand, it's like clay tablets, ceramic tablets that you use.
The material we use, it's basically ceramics, and it's some kind of high-tech material coming also from the motor industry, where they make valves, and from the medicine, where they make artificial bones, or from the chemical industry for hot corrosive materials. They made tubes and ducts from this material. So this material itself is very resistant, and we found a way to write very tiny characters onto this material. So there are 5 lines per millimeter and readable already with a 10 times magnifying lens. So it's more or less readable to the naked eye without any complicated equipment.
Do you have examples of the tablets at all that I can have a look at?
Yeah, just a second.
Okay, thanks.
Example? Yeah, just have a look if these bars are moving. Okay.
Okay, good.
Yeah, there's one example. This is ceramic.
Yeah.
And in that case, it's a 4-color print with ceramic stain. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the resolution is 300 dots per inch. So it's similar to a laser printer. And actually the device which prints not directly, unfortunately, onto the tiles, but some kind of transfer paper is a modified laser printer, which uses this ceramic stain material. And the second method we use is ceramic microfilm.
Okay.
I can also demonstrate this to you.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you about that next, actually, about how the ceramic microfilm works.
Yeah, okay, this is a sample of ceramic microfilm, where we can also print photos on it.
Okay.
In the same way, but what is much more interesting is that we have...
That photo's printed onto a normal ceramic tablet then?
Well, it's the same method as on these tablets, but
okay,
you can see they are much thinner than this one.
Oh, so that's the microfilm. The one on your left is the ceramic microfilm.
This is the material for the microfilm.
Okay.
We can also print in the same way photos on it, but you can have the sound of the... Yeah? So you can see it's ceramic material, or here that it's ceramic material, and you see there's... Actually, you can see nothing, but with a backlight, you can see there are some bars on it.
Yes.
And these bars are full of text, and with a 10 times magnifying loop, I hope we can manage this.
Okay.
Oh
wow! Yeah, I can see that.
You
Yeah.
might see there's text. I don't know if it's really readable.
I can't quite read it, but I can see that there's text there, definitely.
Yeah.
And that's amazing.
Okay.
Yeah, that's incredible. So it's like the light passes through that ceramic microfilm then.
Right. You can also can read it when the light is from the side, but it's easier with this loop and demonstrate it here with the backlight. But it's also readable when you have the light from the side also.
So that's is that etched on to that ceramic tablet then?
Yeah, it's a special technique to have a dark ceramic layer on this very bright or white material, and in this dark layer there is a laser engraving. But with a special laser, it's not a typical cutting or etching laser. It's a modified laser with special optics.
Okay.
And to write that fine without crushing the material. Actually, usually lasers are, when you see on the microscope, it's just crushing material. But this is very, very exact and precisely written. And this is also shelved after the procedure with a glass layer. So this is the reason why it's a bit shiny.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So it's protected with a glass layer on top.
Uh-huh.
And why do you use ceramic tablets then?
Well, a ceramic is a cheap material. It's worthless. That's very important because Egyptian tombs were robbed not because of the statues, but because of the material they're made of. So worthless material, there is no intention to break into a storage because the material is valuable. This is one very important reason actually why we take ceramics. It's because it's not only at the moment a more or less cheap material, it's also worthless. And the reason is because it's very resistant to high temperature, chemicals, radiation, magnetism. So this is definitely the most resistant data carrier humanity has ever used. Much more temperature resistant than any other long-term storage method ever so far.
And on the website you make reference to like Sumerian tablets or Babylonian tablets with text on them as well. That is obviously like quite an ancient form of communication as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's this example that proves that they are at least 5,000 years resistant and they're still readable. It's the cuneiform tablets from the Babylonians. So we still can read them and they keep the information. And these ceramic data carriers are, as long as they are not exposed to erosion by wind, especially, not ice or sunlight, erosion by wind and sand, then they will keep information forever, more or less, or until they are drowned in a subduction zone of the continent drift. So then there's also a geological limit.
I just wanted to talk about what specific things there are in the archive at the moment. I know that do you have nuclear sites, like where nuclear waste dumps are, they're in there, and also like the One Earth message as well. So I just wondered if you could speak about a few things that you have in the archive, a few important things, and a few personal things as well.
Yeah, the question is always what knowledge. The Memory of Mankind project is not particularly to give a backup of our knowledge, because knowledge evolves and then you have to update the knowledge. And there's certainly knowledge which we don't need to pass on, because mathematics is universal. If you just pass on prime numbers, for example, or the speed of light, it would make no sense and would be in some way be arrogant to future finders because they have found out themselves. So we rather document the way how we found out. Let's say the problems with the prime numbers we have solved and which we have not solved yet, or the stories how we found out what the speed of light is. I think this is much more interesting to future scientists. So concerning our knowledge, it's rather a sketch of our knowledge and much more the documentation how we gained that knowledge. For instance, if future scientists who will find the MOM archive know about quantum physics, okay, then they would understand quantum physics. If they don't know anything about it, it's hard to explain quantum physics if someone doesn't understand what that is at all. And therefore, the MOM archive is not a backup of knowledge in order to re-establish a fallen society, because a fallen society needs the principle of a steam machine and not about quantum physics. And even then, it's not definitely a help, because, well, still already the old Greek know the principle of a steam machine, and Leonardo da Vinci understood the principle of a steam machine, but it took us to the 17th, 18th century until we were able to build some cylinders and pistons which fit so well into each other to actually build a steam machine. So this example explains to you that it's not necessarily interesting to store knowledge by itself, but probably some applications of knowledge or the history of knowledge. So this is one part of the Memory of Mankind archive. The others are, let's say, also concerning knowledge. There are a lot of scientific awards, for example. Awards represent, in, I think, the best way what is important to us today. And awards are also documented in MOM. So this is part of the award to be stored in the MOM archive. And this is the same with literature awards or lyrics awards, which represent what is important to our society, which is representative, pre-selected by juries and not a lottery.
And what about personal information? You talk about you stored personal stories in there.
That's right. Yeah, and an important part of the MOM project is as I call it, the bottom-up told history. That means it's a collection of stories that people contribute, which they think is important to be kept. For instance, people use the MOM tablet sometimes as a present, because the MOM project is funded by donations, and when you donate 150 euro, you're enabled to design one tablet. And usually the people use this method to explain the story of someone else, not of their own. For example, to the 60th birthday or anniversary of a company, or someone retiring from a company, or for weddings. So this is some very personal content usually. There was the question about the weddings not from scientists, but from journalists actually. Why is it important to store weddings, and why so many weddings? And the answer came from archaeologists. They say even if there were 10,000 weddings, it just shows how important this event is to us, first. And linguists say this is the best way to reconstruct the language. If one event is explained from different point of views in different languages, it's the best way to decipher languages. So even if a simple wedding is just eternalized in the MOM archive, there is a scientific reason for this also.
I wondered if you could talk about the tokens and and what the I know. Do you have an example of the token as well?
Oh, yes.
Is it worth? Yeah, having a.
Yeah.
So what are the tokens exactly?
Yeah, when the tokens. Can you see? I think you can.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay. I think I send you one so you can make your own recording.
Oh yeah, I'd love that. That'd be great. I'd love
to
have one. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Well, the token is a treasure map to this project.
So it has two sides to it. So
yeah, it's two sides. I don't know. There's one side with the.
So that shows the global location.
No, it's the global location, but it's the outline of Europe.
Okay.
Or of the European continent, and the position here, and some enlargements of the coastlines with the same longitude, crossing the coastline and the same spot a second time enlarged. And with these enlargements, you can find the position of some kilometers.
Okay.
Accuracy. And on the back side, there's this. I don't know if you can see this.
Almost. Yeah, that's good. About there, yeah. Okay, I can just make that out, yeah.
But you can take your own images then.
Yeah.
So on the back side, there's the shape of the lake and the exact position of the entrance and the exact how deep in the mountain it is, and also a hint to the salt crystals or salt mineral. There are some cubic forms, like salt is crystallizing in a natural way in these cube forms. So this is also a hint to the salt repository. Yeah, and this token, everybody who participates in this project receives one of this token. So there are already hundreds disseminated around the globe, and the people are asked, well, to keep them in a safe place, or they get it in an envelope, and the envelope has a writing. This is the envelope.
Okay.
And it's saying, this token is the key to the Memory of Mankind archive. In the early 21st century, we decided to store some of the world's most important information and works in the Memory of Mankind archive. We estimate this information being worthwhile of preservation for the future. Every 50 years, starting in 2070, all holders of a token shall gather and determine whether the content of the archive is still known and if it needs extensions. Save this token on a safe place or bequeath it to your offspring. Use the free space on this envelope to translate or transfer this description into a different or altered language for future generations. So everyone who receives this token can keep it in this envelope and pass it on to his grandchildren. This 50 years is a period between grandparents and grandchildren, because there's some different emotional binding as between parents and children.
Yeah.
So there will be some kind of ceremonial passing on of the token from grandparents to their grandchildren, saying, now you are the holder of one of the token, the holy grail of the 21st century. When you are grown up, you will be the one who will continue to write humanity's history. So this is a plan. I don't know if it works out, and if ever starting in 2017, but we initiate this idea with this project.
Okay, I want to get into these sort of slightly deeper questions now, maybe. And I kind of want to ask you what you think our civilization, human civilization, or humans, what form, whatever they might take in the future, will be like. You know, who do you imagine will be the people that discover this archive?
When producing this huge amounts of stories, huge storytelling project, of course you must ask yourself who are the recipients, who are the addressees, to whom do we dedicate this project to? This is a very serious question and deeply discussed, and in the meantime answered question. We get through this question, how could a technically society evolve from, let's say, some clever animals? And we came to the conclusion that it needs a couple of parameters, and these parameters are probably universal in a literal sense. So these parameters are probably all in the whole universe. These milestones where a developing, technically intelligent society is passing through. And these parameters are curiosity, altruism, some possibility of communication, having something like hands, and seeing the stars, something very universal, literally. So we came to the conclusion that any society will pass through similar milestones. No society will develop quantum physics before they invented the steam machine. There's one coming from the other. And even if a much more advanced society will find the MOM archive, the stages we are now in will be part of their history, so they can interpret as in some way of being something from a society with the same history as they had. And if we would find something from, let's say, if there were some intelligent dinosaur society, we would also in some way understand what they wrote down, probably, because it must have been in a similar way with similar tools. They are made of stone and rocks, which is the surface of planets. And so there is definitely a sense of definitely makes sense to write down a story and sending it to the future, assuming that there will be intelligent societies, be it our own offspring or if it's the descendants of rodents or raccoons. Any intelligent society will understand the content, or it can be extraterrestrial societies.
Talking of extraterrestrials, I understand that there's a project you're looking at Mom on the Moon at the moment.
Yeah, there's definitely an idea of bringing the Mom archive, also at least the image of the token, to the moon or or on board on other spacecrafts. What my favorite project would be to have a lander on one of the Trojans, which is oscillating around the Lagrange points from the Earth. That would be a very long-term stable orbit. And if we put a lander on a object which is 100 meters diameter, it would be very obvious that it's an artificial object. And I think future or any let's say space exploring civilization would have a look at the Lagrange points first before they probably try to land on a planet. Because the Lagrange points are the very logical and obvious points where you can store information for a very long time.
And they're the points that stay in permanent orbit, are they? Is that?
Yeah, the Lagrange points are gravitational neutral between Sun and Earth, so the objects stay there for a very long time without needing energy for correction of their orbits.
Okay, I see. Maybe I'm skipping. Actually, I mean, there was one question I wanted to ask you first, because I understand you're a ceramicist,
right,
to start with. I mean, I was just I was wondering, if this project, if this project is art at all, would you consider this to be an art project? Right?
Yeah, for me, it's definitely art. And well, me being an artist and started this idea of having this project somewhere in a mountain. Well, it started definitely as an art project, and I got already awarded as an art project, or got an award for an art project for this project already, and. But it became, of course, more and more a crossover between art and technology and science, and that's what it is now at the moment. That's what my motivation is to carry on, because it's very interesting which people I meet during this project and which connections it gets and which questions are asked and discussed. I do a lot enjoy this, working with this project.
Is this project your legacy as well?
Well, probably it is. It's not intended as a legacy. I think it's when I use the word legacy, I use it in the connection of it's a legacy of our society or of our present global society. A legacy in contrary to heritage. A heritage is what you get from someone else, and you estimate it worthwhile to be preserved, and the heritage is what you build actively. And the MOM project is our heritage, or will be called the heritage of the 21st century, but it's our legacy which we pass on. But I don't want to call it legacy because it has something morbid to my feeling. I don't know if it's really so in English, but it feels a kind of morbid to say legacy. I don't know. Is it?
Is it what? Sorry.
Morbid.
Morbid. Yeah. Well, maybe it's I mean, maybe my question's more based on the idea of the project's being about. I mean, I don't understand the way that you choose the knowledge and information that goes in is fairly democratic.
Yeah.
But you're still the project. You know, you still sort of originated the project, and you still author it in a way. You know, I mean, it's very much going to be sort of linked to you as in living memory, at least, anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, of course, it will be remembered that it is my idea. I mean, if some article appears in the media, I try to get hold on it and also bring it on ceramic tablets as a meta information how the MOM project is seen from the outside. And very often it is mentioned that I'm the initiator. But I don't have a tablet of my own where I explain my life, or I just explain how I came to the idea and what the objectives are from my point of view.
Okay, so you don't have your own personal tablet in there?
I do have one, but I'm explaining it how I came to the idea.
On your tablet, you mean?
Yes. Uh-huh. But there's one tablet. There's a photo of me and an explanation of how I came to the idea of MOM.
But you don't have a personal story on there. Right?
No.
Why is that, do you think?
When I bring a personal story into it, I would bring it into being part of the bottom-up told history, like similar to everybody else. Why bring the story into it? Because I don't think this should be in some way be more valuable than any other personal story. If I bring my own story into it about me, my wife, my children, whatever, so this could be part of the general bottom-up told history. But on this tablet I created, having a photo of me, I explained how I came to the idea and what I still on my what's still on my radar to develop this project into. And this was one of the first tablets I produced, so this is already 5 years old. So in the meantime, I must have a second tablet where I can explain how the project developed in the meantime.
Okay. And I remember you saying that your parents have a tablet in there. They've written a personal story. Your parents?
Yes, I asked my parents to write down their story because the idea is, for the bottom-up told history, there are so many things I don't know about my grandparents, and where I have no way to find out. And there would be so many things I would like to know about them, about their childhood and their life and how they met and so on. And I asked my parents to write down their story, not for me, but for their grandchildren. And then they realized that makes sense, because the first reaction was, of course, well, what should be interesting from my life? And I said, well, whenever you tell stories from their childhood, we could speak the whole night, because it's interesting for us. And then they understood, that's even the most normal or banal life is interesting to future generations. And the argument was, don't write it for me, write it for your grandchildren. And then they started to realize how important it would be.
Okay.
Because I argued, I don't know much about my grandparents. I can never find out. And even my parents don't know much about them, their childhood and so. So it's just a present to the grandchildren, I told them.
So would you not write something for your grandchildren then?
Probably I will, yes. And I will just put it into the whole collection of stories. And I mean, if future scientists will go all through this, they will realize, well, this is the story of this guy who invented the project because he writes about the project and how to came it into it. But I don't want to present myself on a VIP tablet. I'm the inventor of MOM.
And because I felt like, after we spoke last time, it felt more like you were trying to build an image, and like a non-conclusive image of just life on the planet, really, or life on the planet at this current point.
It's a question what you understand in knowledge, and if this is not better defined as just mentioned our knowledge, you can split this in our history, for example. This will not change significantly. Can change new experiences, but let's say you store the Greek history or store the history of the Roman Empire or the Chinese history. This is knowledge we can store and tell, but there's also, if you store the complete Wikipedia, there's lots of rubbish stuff in it, a lot of biographies of people which are not relevant to the knowledge of humanity. And on the other hand, there is development permanently in knowledge, in science. So how could you update this? And the suggestion is, when we give a snapshot of our knowledge, we rather give a snapshot of our endeavor to gain knowledge as the knowledge itself. Something like I ask myself, of course, there's a big effort and well, there's a huge return also, but why me? Why especially me? And sometimes I think probably the MOM project chose me to do it. And often I talk to people who have something to do with this long-term things. They also ask themselves the question, why me? And there's a similar explanation, some humorous, of course. Well, this project chose me, and and talking to these people, we sometimes think there's probably an intention by someone in the future, because they need some time markers for future time travelers. You need some time markers, like a map, where you know where to travel back in history and have a look to interesting things happening. If you don't have a time map, it doesn't make sense to just go back in time just by chance and stopping somewhere without knowing if there's something interesting going on or not. So this is some humorous explanation of why doing this. But sometimes I get really I get thrilled by this idea. Is there probably a deeper purpose behind this project that I don't realize?
Yeah, I guess in that sense it's quite similar to an art project, because if you make a piece of work, you make a piece of art, and you put it out into the world, or you invite people to sort of somehow participate into it, it changes it and it becomes something else, and people either have questions or they may propose answers for it, I guess. Right. And I guess I want to finish up by asking you the question, why is it memory of mankind and not memory of, say, humankind or womankind?
Well, the question why MOM or the question why memory of memory, the question why memory of mankind and not humankind. Well, it's the acronym, you can say memory of mankind, or in short MOM, where otherwise it would be Mo. And on the other side, the acronym MOM is female. So we have the memory of mankind, male, and in the acronym MOM, both. Yeah. And what I like very much is the image of storing our stories in Mother Earth womb. When we say we store it deep in the mountain, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I know what you mean. Yeah.
So
in there.
It's not especially male or female for me. So it's just the images. The one sounds male, the other is female, and the whole overall image storing in Mother Earth's womb. So that's the nicest picture for me.
Cool, brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, thanks a lot. Thank you very much. And
you're welcome.
well, thank you for speaking to me again.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you so much.
So
All right.
have a nice evening.
You too.
Bye-bye.
You too.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye. Bye.